This is the Patriots Prayer Network, where truth matters.
The following is a presentation of AOW Productions.
The views and opinions by the hosts and guests of this program do not reflect those of the Patriots Prayer Network, its owners and/or associates. Copyright disclaimer. Under Section 107 Act 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Non-profit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use.
Every patriot has an obligation to question authority. Those who are honest are not concerned with your watchful vigilance, and those with integrity are not concerned with your discernment. Every American is obligated to voice their concerns and stand up for their freedoms and liberties.
One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are the men in the arena. We are the Patriot Confederation.
We will never back down from a fight. We're undefeated Americans.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Patriot Confederation for the 6th of May, 2025. I'm your host, Bad Billy from Twin Falls, Idaho, joined as always by John Grosvenor out of Nashua, New Hampshire. What's going on out there, brother?
Not a whole heck of a lot, Billy. You know, if I was Shane Baum, their president of Mexico, I'd be taking Trump up on his generous offer to help with the drug cartels. But I wish Trump made offers like that to me. You know, generous offers.
Yes, or at least, how about that deal he finally made with Zelensky and basically making Ukraine take advantage of their minerals, make their money, and pay us back for all the billions we have given them senselessly over the past 4 years.
That was a deal right there when we voted for Trump. Zelensky didn't seem to understand it until later on, but we all knew. Yes,
indeed. I mean, we should have something to show for all that money we've given them while we have neglected our own citizens, at least. Well, our government. We didn't do it. Our government did. So.
Honestly, I think it's a good deal for Zelensky too, because Ukraine's going to benefit greatly from it as well.
Then they should, and they'll make triple what we've given them. They can pay us back with interest and still have plenty of money for themselves.
That's it. Yep.
So joining us this week, we have Ed Fisher. He's part of the Citizens for West Virginia Election Integrity. Ed, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Billy and John. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. So,
by the way, John, I my family lived in. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, John, my family and I lived in New Hampshire not in New Hampshire, but in Massachusetts for about 32 years. So, I'm very familiar with New Hampshire.
Oh, nice. It's a good place. It's not bad. We're still conservative, regardless of what many say.
Yes, indeed. So, Ed, why don't you take a moment and tell us about the Citizens for West Virginia Election Integrity?
Absolutely, Billy. So, you know, I as I'm sure you too as well, and many of your viewers have seen some of the activities across our great country in elections, some of the fraud that we've seen in many states, especially the swing states. And so I just became more and more concerned about it. And so I made a decision that rather than sit on my back porch, I mean, I've been an engineer now for 40 some years in industry and universities. I decided I wanted to do something for my kids and grandkids. So I founded the Citizens for West Virginia Election Integrity in 2023. And our group consists of volunteer citizens from across the state. And we have people in all the major areas of West Virginia. We have a lot of different skills, and you need a lot of different skills in an organization like this because you're meeting with a lot of the election officials, and you need to have IT backgrounds. We have a cybersecurity person. You probably had Nate Kane on your broadcast at some point, so Nate's a member of the group. Yep, and we have former election clerks. We have lawyers. We have people who do door-to-door canvassing when it comes to registration or voting. We have communication specialists. So all those people put together really make up the group. We even have two people who, at the time that they joined, were not in the legislature, but since we have one person who was elected to the House of Delegates and one person who was elected to the state Senate. So that's helped us quite a bit in the work that we're doing.
Yeah. So, I mean, how long, in your personal opinion, do you think our election process has been a mess? I mean, it was quite obvious in 2020. You can't tell me that was a fair and honest election as much as Biden and the Democrats try to say it was. There were so many things wrong and my BS detectors going off the roof. Something's wrong. Especially one of the things I thought was really, really fishy was when California called their race before we did here in Idaho, which has never happened before. Rumor has it Trump was winning in California, so they had to do something quickly.
Yeah, I would agree with you, Billy. There are lots of bad or dark actors that are affecting our elections, and the citizens. And it's not. It's certainly up to date. The government hasn't done enough to fix those issues. So it was up to us, the citizens, to rise up. And even though it's volunteers, right? We're volunteers. We pay all of our own expenses. But like I said, for our kids and grandkids, we need to get those elections right because everything that happens bad in this country is downstream from elections. You asked how long has it been going on? Well, certainly we can say late 90s, 2000. I don't know if you're aware of a man named Clint Curtis who gave testimony to the federal Congress back in 2000 that he had been hired to do a 51-49 election win, right? So that's a case where you don't want it to be too obvious, but you employ an algorithm in the tabulation so that the person wins by a small margin, but it's basically a fait accompli to do that. And the common way that those tabulations are impacted, according to several experts that I've seen, expert testimony, is through the use of PID control algorithms. If you're not familiar with those, if you've ever used a thermostat, you set this thermostat at 70 degrees, and then let's say it's 50 degrees in your house. So you're going to see a sharp rise, and then based on outside weather events, then it will settle down to a set point, which you select at 70 degrees. Same thing if you're in a plane and you can't, I guess it's IVR, you can't see the tarmac, the landing strip. So there is a control algorithm that is used to guide you safely to the tarmac. So there's certainly a good amount of evidence that has been used.
Also, I've got to ask, have you heard of something they call hammer and scorecard?
I have not, Billy. Why don't you explain it to me?
Yeah, so hammer and scorecard, I've talked about this quite a bit before, even prior to the election, is basically, you take the, especially the computerized Dominion voting and other, whatever the other one is that,
ESNS, yeah, Smartmatic ESNS.
And those, and then also, paper ballots with barcodes on them too. Well, supposedly the hammer and scorecard is affected to those voting machines, and it's controlled by China, and I think Italy was another one too. So basically, in 2020, when the votes were really coming in for Trump, they just flipped a switch, and it didn't matter if you were voting for Trump; it defaulted to Biden. So things like that.
Yeah, and the other thing is, that there have been several legitimate cases. You could say many, but then they get dismissed for standing or some reason, right? And so we actually need to see all the evidence play out in a courtroom. There was a good case in Georgia about 2 years ago with an expert from Michigan that showed you could manipulate the machines. And so we just need to get there. But we're very encouraged by President Trump's executive order, and we are working hard to get West Virginia ready to implement that because most of the states are just not ready for it right now. So it needs to be costed out because there's a lot of planning and so on if you're going to change an election system to be able to handle a different election process. And so county clerks are involved and so on. So we are certainly going to be involved in that to prepare the way as the executive order hopefully will be implemented.
Well, what really needs to be done, in my personal opinion, we need to get rid of the machines, and we don't need paper ballots with barcodes on them. That's also suspicious.
I would agree with that because when you West Virginia uses ESNS, and so when you vote on an express vote machine, then you go in with a blank ballot, right? And then you submit that to the express vote. And then what comes out is your selections, but it also puts a barcode on the ballot. And so the barcode is what is used for the actual tabulation. So there are lots of vulnerabilities in the elections, and we need to get rid of those. Now, I spent my whole career in IT, and so I have nothing against computers. My issue is normally I'm trying to make something more efficient. But in the case of elections, efficiency is not nearly as important as trust is. You must have citizen trust in election.
Absolutely.
And that's paramount. And the only way to get trust that I know of is to have complete transparency. Like, I don't know if you saw the primary elections out in Iowa or maybe the Dixville Notch election for 2024. When you see people hand counting with TV cameras on them, there aren't any complaints. People trust the results because they can see it happening. And also you have lots of eyes from the local precinct people that are there watching. And so people can't get away with the same kinds of things that you do with the black box systems that we currently have in our machine-based elections. So as I was saying, I'm an IT guy, so I've made my bread and butter and make my money on implementing computer systems. But those are computer systems that we have checks and balances on. We can see what's happening. We can look at the code. You can't look at any of the election machine code. That's all been stalled by lawsuits, etc. And I wouldn't mind if there was a machine that could be totally transparent, but we don't have that today. In fact, it's tough to even ask questions of the machine vendors. You have to go through the Secretary of State. It has to be a written question, and then they get they can get a lawyer to respond to the question. You know how that goes. So when the response comes back, doesn't bite. It's not transparent. So so there is there are machines that you feel comfortable with. For example, there are machines in my bank when I put money into the bank, but I can look at my online banking system and I can see every transaction, and I can see whether it debits or credits my balance. So if I can look through that, that builds my trust. And the other thing I know is that if there's a fraudulent transaction, my bank's going to be good for it, right? Otherwise, I wouldn't be with them. And so I'm comfortable. I'm comfortable putting at least a portion of my money into a bank because of that. In election machines and election software, we don't have that equivalent. We can't see what all the transactions look like. There are things, cast vote records, et cetera, but it's tough to get them. People fight you when you try to get the openness of that. And then we also have thumb drives that are taken from precinct locations to county locations. We don't want centralized tabulation. We want tabulation as decentralized as possible on the precincts where we have lots of eyes on them. We need cameras on them, et cetera. And we have a number of bills that we're helping to develop to take care of that. So currently, the only feasible remedy is hand counted ballots without the barcodes, et cetera. And I'll tell you some of the things that we're doing to help implement that, in a few minutes.
Yes. So we're a little bit past the first quarter, so we got to go to our first break, and we will continue this discussion with Ed Fisher in about 1 minute.
Welcome to Shop with America, where the emphasis is on America. Our movement is to switch away from your shopping with the big box stores and the mega corporations back to supporting family-owned, made in America. We've been giving these big box stores our money every day for years. But what's happened is they've forced many small businesses to shut down. We call this the illusion of choice. We see all these products in these stores, but in reality, it's only a few companies that control it all. There are thousands of lawsuits for health damage because they put profit over our people. But there is another choice. We found a better way. There's a family-owned American factory with product integrity and have always done things the right way for the right reasons. And this company outperforms the big box stores. That's due to their month-to-month shopping club. They make everyday consumer products that we all use and buy again and again, like toothpaste, shampoo, coffee, and organic beef. Go to shopwithamerica.us today.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Once again, we are joined by Ed Fisher for Citizens for West Virginia Election Integrity. John's been awfully quiet, so I better let him have the floor for a little while because I think he's been waiting to say something. Your mic is muted.
Sorry about that. I muted myself out for some background noise. I was listening to Fred or Ed, what you were saying on how tabulations were, and you did the comparison to the landing strip or so forth. And I was wondering though, how does this work exactly? Because if you're tabulating, you're counting, right? So the machines are counting votes, and the algorithms are adjusting to make sure that they're staying within the parameters, if I understood you correctly. But at the end of the day, when they do a recount, is it that they have to go back and change the ballots to make sure the recount counts the same, or how does that work exactly? Do you know?
Yeah. So fraud starts in the registration system. All right. So you have to have registrations that you can pull votes from. So typically in a PID control algorithm setup, you set your you establish your set point. Let's say you want a 52-48 win for a selected candidate. Then what happens is initially the candidate that's supposed to win is ahead, and then so then you have to start manipulating tabulation so that you get to the desired set point. And I don't want to focus totally on this tonight, but let me just finish this out because there's a lot of other things we need to talk about. Then what happens is if you have phantom voters in your registration system, or they could be real people, right? Then let's say you want to pull them in batches, and so if the unselected candidate is still winning, then you need to pull batches for the alternative candidate in to start arriving at that set point, right? And so that's why I say fraud starts in the registration system. So every state needs to clean up its registration system so that you don't have registrations there. For example, like an illegal alien registration, right? You could pull those in and then basically vote for those people, right? And then you could create ballots for them. I mean, I've seen pictures of people, filling in ballots. I've seen that in Pennsylvania and other states. Before I go forward, though, I want to say West Virginia has a fairly good election system, and it has fairly good results. I don't believe it's impacted too much by that, but that doesn't mean it couldn't be, right? So even if you have good election officials in charge of your state, you still have the same vulnerabilities. West Virginia is not a swing state, and it only has 4 electoral votes. So that means that bad actors are just they're not focusing on West Virginia, right? They're focusing on swing states. In fact, not only just the state, but swing counties that are really critical. There's just a handful of counties that can sway an entire election. And so they focus on places like Fulton County, in Georgia, Maricopa County, in Arizona, the counties in Wisconsin and Michigan, counties around Detroit, Wayne County, and so on. There's quite a lot of science and control involved in this, and so we just need to root this out. And that's why I'm very thankful that we have a president who's willing to act on this, because we need help from the federal government, because that's where some of this push is coming from. My opinion, but I'm fairly convinced of that. And so, we've seen data on that.
So now going back to the state level, even West Virginia, do they not do this for local candidates or just to get a state senator or representative in?
Well, it can be done. Absolutely. In fact, in 2024, most of the problems appear to have been in the down ballot races. You saw that in California and Arizona, where it took a month, right, to get all the ballots in. And so anytime you're extending election day, the Constitution says we should have election day, period. So all those ballots actually should be in so that they're counted as soon as the polls close. But then you have people, extending that, and that's where fraud can occur. Now, there's another type of fraud that's very important that supports all this, which is mail-in ballots, where you have certain states that mail out ballots to every citizen. I believe California still does that. Washington, Oregon,
yeah,
several places. Well, when you mail those out, there's only a certain percentage of those that go to actual voters. There are other ones that can go to places where they're just picked up out of the mailbox, right? Or they go to some location where you can have a bad actor fill them in and then turn them back in. West Virginia has done is pretty good when it comes to that. We have 1 million or so registered voters, and I believe we had 800,000 voters in 2024, but we only had 24,245 absentee ballots. And so the more mail-in ballots you have, the more potential problems you have. In West Virginia, you have to have cause for applying for and getting an absentee ballot. So that there are certain things you can do that limits the fraud vectors from occurring. And so several of those things are good in West Virginia, but it doesn't mean we don't have vulnerabilities.
Getting back to what you were saying there too, is you were saying how they, when it comes to voter fraud, they really want to focus on the swing states, which is true. They're not going to focus on states like Idaho or West Virginia. I mean, both Idaho and West Virginia are both for electoral college votes. Now, if Maine did not have this ranked choice voting that I think works better in Australia than it does here, mind you.
Yeah, in my opinion, ranked choice voting is a loser. That one of our big successes this year was to prohibit ranked choice voting.
Hey, that's outstanding. I mean, our guest last week was from Australia, and he pushed ranked choice voting. Except I think it might be working better for them. And
Billy, it's bad because in ranked choice voting you don't get the best candidate typically. You get the second or third tier candidate. And without mentioning any names, we have some people in Congress right now that shouldn't be there, and they're only there because of ranked choice voting. And I won't mention a name, but I think we know who some of those folks are.
Yes. But I think the main thing they want to do with our states that aren't focused on so much is, I know they're sneaking in rhinos over here, and I'm pretty sure they're doing it in West Virginia too. That's how they're planning on flipping the balance in these states that I'm talking about. Otherwise,
without a doubt, Billy. But even if you're not a swing state, the bad actors care very much about popular vote, right? One of the things that President Trump talks about is he won all 7 swing states, but he also won the popular vote, because they like to use the narrative that, this guy didn't win the popular vote. So you can affect popular vote by 4%. Maybe nobody will notice it, even in a state like Idaho or New Hampshire or West Virginia. But overall, the popular vote is affected. And so they want to influence the popular vote and try to defeat the popular vote for even the person who wins the election, because then they can try to get rid of the Electoral College, which they would love to do.
Oh, absolutely. And a lot of people don't understand why there's an Electoral College in place. I mean, I used to be on board with, I think it's the popular vote that counts, but the deal is it's in place because we're all a bunch of separate states. Even though we're one country, we're all a bunch of separate states, and so therefore, we don't want the rest of the country to be like California or New York.
Well, that's right. And our states that we represent, Idaho, New Hampshire, and West Virginia, we would be totally disenfranchised with if it was just total popular vote, and basically the election would be won or lost in New York and California.
Yes, exactly.
And we don't want that. We want citizens to feel empowered. That's important. And the more we can have, the more participation we can have in the precincts, this decentralized tabulation, the better it is for our elections, because people need to be civic minded, and they need to be involved in the process so that the right people do get elected. And it may be a person we don't agree with, but the citizens need to speak and have their voice heard.
Absolutely. So we're about to go to our second bottom of the hour break, but I just wanted to ask you really quick too, has West Virginia, have they had a push for ranked choice voting out there at all?
Well, as I said, we have not been observing ranked choice voting, but in legislation, we just passed a law in February, March at the general session to completely prohibit it. In fact, we had 5 bills that were submitted, and those were consolidated into one bill, and it passed both the Senate and the House and was signed by the governor.
Excellent. Yeah, ranked choice voting, in my opinion, is garbage, complete garbage.
I don't support it. I don't support it at all. So when we come back, Billy, I want to talk about some of our accomplishments, so I can get into some of the nits there as to what successes we've had.
Yes, indeed. Let's do that. So we're going to go to our bottom of the hour break. We'll be back in about 4 minutes. Please don't nobody go nowhere.
Hey friend, do not forget to shop our affiliates. There's Mike Lindell's My Pillow. Use the promo code OUTLAW to save up to 66% off your order, or possibly more if there's a special going on. There's also My Patriot Supply. Make sure you're prepared for the next unplanned emergency. Get yourself some food with a 25-year shelf life, water filtration systems, solar-powered equipment, and other essential goodies at My Patriot Supply. If you like cigars, there's Patriot Cigar Company. Use the promo code OUTLAW to save up to 15% off your order. There's also We the People holsters for great inside the waistband and outside the waistband holsters, apparel, and other goodies at We the People holsters. Tactical Brotherhood offers merchandise that's veteran-owned and American-made. Your purchase with Tactical Brotherhood supports veteran organizations. Make your life easier and better with merchandise from the Caravan to Midnight store. At Concealed Carry, you can get news, purchase merchandise, obtain firearm safety training, and much more at Concealed Carry. Ammo Squared helps firearms owners stay stocked up on ammunition automatically. With Ammo Squared, you'll never have to worry about running out of ammunition ever again. Set it and forget it. Enroll in Red Pill University, where you can go beyond the matrix and learn what's really going on in the world. Protect your investments by investing in gold or silver from Noble Gold Investments. Silver Lining Herbs offers a wide range of herbal supplements for horses, dogs, and people. Harness the natural benefits of herbs to support the health of your beloved animals, as well as your own health. Use the promo code OUTLAW to save on your order. Support your health and be prepared for any emergency in the Brighteon store. Shop from a wide selection of ultra-clean and lab-verified superfoods, supplements, preparedness items, and other health products. Elevate your heart health with Cardio Miracle, a nitric oxide supplement that promotes and sustains the body's natural production of nitric oxide. Use the promo code OUTLAW to save on your order. Check out the Folium PX line of antioxidant supplements. Folium PX, Folium Relax, and Folium Immuno. Use the promo code OUTLAW to save on your order. In the RNC store, a service of the Richardson Nutritional Center, find quality natural health supplements to improve your wellness. Use the promo code OUTLAW to save on your order. Available to buy and stream. Finish This Fight, Diary of a Pissed Off American Soldier. Veteran, country music artist, and patriot Glenn Baker embarks on a cross-country mission to seek real solutions to today's pressing issues, interviewing experts, veterans, and influential voices, offering not just a critique, but actionable insights and solutions. At Patriot's Cave, buy apparel, hats, drinkware, and other cool stuff for the real American patriot. At Mammoth Nation, shop American and veteran-owned merchants and get exclusive discounts. Use promo code TIBN, the number 4, USA. Where do you go for children's books with a Christian conservative perspective, minus the woke nonsense? Brave Books, that's where. Use promo code TIBN, the number 4, USA. The links for all of the affiliates mentioned here can be found in the description of this video, or visit thebeardedpatriots.com/affiliates. Again, all of the links for all of the affiliates mentioned in this video can be found in the description of this video, or go to thebeardedpatriots.com/affiliates. See you there.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back, joined by Ed Fisher. And Ed, there's some good things you want to talk about. Let's jump right into it.
Okay, before I begin, Bill, I just want to say I love both your states. I've been to Idaho, beautiful, beautiful state. Just expansive wheat fields up in one section there. So we really enjoyed it. I have good friends in Moscow, Idaho. And John, I mentioned that we lived in New England, and I played in a band for about 40 years. And so we played all over New England, but we played a lot in New Hampshire, in Manchester, and Salem, and Nashua, you name it. So we
Well,
really enjoyed ourselves.
They just put a new art center up in Nashua, New Hampshire. So get the boys back together, get up there, and let's hear a set.
Okay, all right. I learned a very valuable lesson. Well, I didn't learn it, but we were very apolitical band. So when you're entertaining, you need to just entertain. That's a principle I live by.
It's a truth. Bruce Springsteen was likable until we found out he was a liberal.
Exactly. There are all kinds of people like that. They should just entertain. That brings people together, right? But if you start spouting off political opinions, then you're going to have a problem with half the country right now. So it's not a good thing to be a.
While we're on that note, I just got to say, John Denver never wrote a song about New Hampshire or Idaho. Darn it.
No, he didn't. But I got to say really quick before we move on from this subject is over the weekend I found a band that I really like. They're independent, unheard of, and then looked deeper into them. They are AI. I mean, who releases 4 albums in 1 year if you're not AI? So
I don't know.
I don't care though. There's one song that just grabs me. We just got to get it to an actual person like Chris Stapleton would be my first candidate to sing this particular song. So,
well, Billy, I studied AI for my PhD work in engineering. But there's something about AI and robotics, and I study both of those. But when it comes down to it, you have to be able to trust who you're talking to, right? And so that's something that robots or AI do not have that capacity. You need a person who has integrity behind words and actions, and you can trust those people. So that's the difference. And so even if we have the most advanced AI systems in the world, it depends on who programs them, and they can have inherent bias unless you're very worldly and know whether you're getting the truth or BS. So I still, my trust still goes to the people, no matter how advanced we get as a society. So
I remember an old phrase, only the living brain is immune.
Yeah, well, trust is everything in life, and I've been married for 50 years, and you need people around you can trust, because you can count on them when things are bad. Yeah. All right, so let me just say a couple words about what our group focuses on. So, if there's one word you can remember, it's transparency. That's the key to trust, to citizen trust. And even though West Virginia is relatively better than other states in its elections, we do anecdotal surveys, and people do not trust elections, and the reason is because they see all this, and no matter what certain news outlets tell you, we know we have the ability to sniff out BS or fraud when we see it or hear it. That's the most important thing. We support President Trump's executive order on election integrity, and we'll do everything we can to help get it implemented. We have taken a little different approach in West Virginia, in that we established a whole set of working sessions with the Secretary of State, the legislators, and the county clerks. So we interact with them, we develop relationships with them, and we try to help them wherever we can. And that builds trust, so that, when we do get to a point where we have to change elections, then, we can have support, and we have some credibility there. We do whatever we can to identify and mitigate vulnerabilities, especially with legislation. We are focusing quite a lot on the registration system and to clean up invalid registrations. And we have several national partners we're working with there. We raise grassroots awareness by speaking directly to the public and doing a lot of press releases. And we, for every bill that is introduced in the legislature, we do a deep dive on it. We review it, we analyze it, and then we endorse bills that we agree with, and we oppose bills that we disagree with it. And so as we go on, that our voice carries more weight because of that analysis we do. And the legislators appreciate that as well. Okay. What have we accomplished to date? So the biggest accomplishment we've had is we facilitated the establishment of a West Virginia legislature election integrity caucus. Now, I say that for some of your viewers who may be working in election integrity. That's very important, and we're very proud to. We feel we're leading. We're leading in that area to establish those relationships with the legislators, because they're the ones who introduce the legislation, and we help them wherever we can with legislation, and that helps them to sponsor bills that we're trying to put forth as well. We reviewed and analyzed all 2025 West Virginia election integrity legislation. We endorsed 27 bills and we opposed 2. 8 of those endorsed bills passed both chambers, and they've either been signed by the governor or still in the signature loop. So the 2 biggest ones that we passed this year, as I indicated, was prohibition of ranked choice voting. We're very happy with that. That was the first one that passed. And we also were able to mandate photo ID in West Virginia. That's another huge one.
I was actually going to ask you about that. Thank you.
Yep, absolutely. So we're very pleased with that. And we opposed 2 bills. One was, the old going backwards, mailing out the ballots and drop boxes and so on. So that never got out of committee. And then we had another bill that was going to take away our right to photograph our ballot in the precinct before we submitted our completed ballot. And so we were instrumental in helping to defeat that bill, both with regards to our email campaigns and also people we had speaking out on the floor to help defeat that. And that was defeated, I think, 65-33 in the House. So
let me clarify that a little bit. I'm sorry to interrupt you. But would that mean like somebody taking a picture of their ballot with their cell phone and posting it on social media, or something like that? Is that what you mean?
Well, we would hope that wouldn't happen. There is a legitimate concern about vote buying. We understand that, but we've had very few instances of that. Our purpose in doing that is because if you disagree, if you find out that your ballot is not, there was a case in Georgia, I think in 2022, where nobody voted for a candidate, and that candidate was also running for office, and she and her husband both voted for her, right? But they had no way to prove it, right? So if you can take a picture of your ballot, you can prove that you voted, and for whatever reason, it wasn't tabulated. Another good use of a photograph is, there are like 2 more I'll mention. One is if a candidate was left off a particular ballot, because you have different ballots across the state, depending upon where you're at, right? Because you have local elections as well. So if the candidate was left off the ballot, if you have a photo of your ballot, you can prove that that's the case. And that was very instrumental in getting it defeated. And by the way, if you're an absentee voter, you can absolutely photograph your ballot, right? So, and nobody would question that. So we want to have that. And the third very important reason is we got pretty far with a bill this year to put all the ballot images on the Secretary of State website. So if you can have all of your ballot images on the website, and you have some way of identifying what is normally an anonymous ballot image, then if that ballot image is different than the one you took a photograph on before you submitted it to a scanner, then you would have evidence to dispute that particular ballot, right? And so that's something we're going towards. We obviously don't agree with vote buying, and those people should be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. But we would like much stronger auditing procedures. The other thing you can do with ballot images on the Secretary of State website is that makes every citizen a potential auditor. So you could take a particular precinct, look at all the ballot images. Let's say there are 400 Okay, you can look at all those ballot images, total them all up for the selected candidates, and compare them to the precinct totals, which are already on the Secretary of State website. And so every citizen then becomes an auditor. So whether you find anything or not, it's a great deterrent to fraud. And so one of the things we do in general is just by us looking at these things, it's a deterrent to bad actors. So that's very important. All right. Let's see. The next thing we did is established a registration audit center because you have to focus on registration. You have to have clean voter rolls, define and correct invalid registration records. So we're working with 3 national organizations, Election Integrity Network, which is headed by Cleta Mitchell. She's a lawyer, and she's been working in this area for, I think, 10 years. Very, very good person for election integrity. We work with True the Vote. They have a website called IV3 where you can download for your county all of the suspicious registrations. And so we use that to identify registrations that need to be challenged. And also we're working with Fight Voter Fraud up in Connecticut, and they helped us identify a lot of registrations that were active both in West Virginia and other states, and also people who had voted not only in West Virginia but other states. And those have been remanded to the Secretary of State, the relevant county clerks, and the FBI. So those things really make a difference. And then we have a couple of local groups we work with as well in election integrity. So because of that, we presented multiple cases of election fraud to West Virginia election officials.
Yes. Well, hey, we are at our final quarter, so we're going to take our final break. And I'll share a little something with you that I've shared in the past. And, I'd like to hear your take on it. So we'll get to that when we come back in 1 minute.
Sounds good.
Tulsa, Oklahoma, the buckle of the Bible Belt, home of the BOK Center, the Philbrook Museum, U.S. Route 66, and Red Pill Expo 2025, July 12th and 13th at the Renaissance Tulsa Hotel and Convention Center in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Can't make it to Tulsa? The expo will be live streamed and archived should you miss any of it. Red Pill Expo is the major public event of Red Pill University. The mission of the expo and the university is to bring together world-class experts to set the record straight on fake narratives, fake history, and fake news. At each and every Red Pill Expo, truth seekers unite to get a better understanding of how the world really works, a world where collectivism reigns. It's time for individualism and an open mind. Mark your calendars and make your plans now to attend Red Pill Expo 2025. Get more details and register today at redpillexpo.org.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back in roughly about 13 minutes of show left. So want to get into this because I've told this story before, but I think it's an important story to tell, especially to somebody like Ed. So back in 2008, I remember I was living in Memphis, Tennessee. The recession had hit. I could not find a job in Memphis to save my life. I couldn't get a job as a janitor, McDonald's, nothing. So even though the economy was taking a pretty hard hit in Las Vegas, it was doing a little bit better out there. So that's where I moved, was to Sin City, and sleeping on a friend's couch until I got myself established and things like that. By the second week I had moved there, I was on public transport out job hunting, and somebody approached me from a company I'm sure you've heard of called Acorn. And they asked me, they asked me if I was registered to vote. And I said, I've only been in town for 2 weeks. I don't know if I'm even a citizen of this city yet. And they said, oh yes, you are. You got ID. I'm like, yeah, it's Tennessee ID. And it worked. They registered me to vote, and I didn't even have Nevada state ID. And of course, the rest is history from there. But I got to thinking later on, especially the 2020 election, with the way Acorn was just registering people to vote with out-of-state ID, like somebody from nearby Los Angeles or Orange County will get up election morning and go cast their vote.
Yes. Yeah.
and then they'll decide, I'm going to go to Vegas and do a little gambling, and there they cast another vote there.
Yeah, disgusting, isn't it? And did you have to show any proof of citizenship?
No, I didn't have to show proof of citizenship. I had to show ID, which was Tennessee ID. So.
Right, but that doesn't mean you were a citizen, right? So they could round up, and of course that's why the big push for illegal immigration, right, is to that's certain. In my opinion, my humble opinion, there were two major reasons. That was one to bolster the voting rolls, and we've seen the results of the Doge analysis, right, where there were people with Social Security numbers that were not legal citizens of the country. And so that was one reason, and the other reason was to suppress wages, right? And get a new. So it's getting a voting block, and the other reason is to impact the census, right? Because if you impact the census, then you can influence how many districts that you have in Congress, and so we need to get rid of all that, because this disenfranchises all kinds of people, especially in West Virginia, Idaho, and New Hampshire. When these big states do that.
Well, the good thing is that, since the Patriots Prayer Network's own Eddie lives out in the Vegas area, I asked him, is Acorn still doing what they're doing? He said no, they were shut down after registering dead people to vote. Plus, I got to tell you real quick, the second half of this story, Ed, is last year I found out that at that time I was still registered to vote, even though I moved from Vegas in 2013. Up until last year, I was still registered to vote in Nevada, and I'm still trying to get my voting records, which they couldn't provide to me, to see if I mysteriously voted for Biden in 2020 in the state of Nevada, even though I voted for Trump in the state of Idaho.
So that absolutely correct. And you can bet that somebody was using your registration to vote. I almost 100% certainty. So that's why these voter rolls have to be cleaned up constantly. Otherwise, that becomes then a phantom voter. So your registration is there. You no longer live there. So they can use that registration however they want, and they can fill out a ballot for it, right? They could have your address to submit an application. I think Nevada actually mails them out, but let's say it was just a normal absentee ballot. So that registration could apply for a ballot. A ballot would be sent to that address. Somebody could pick up the ballot in the mailbox, if not some other way, and then they could vote for whoever they want to vote for. And you can bet it's not a legitimate vote. So that's a horrible way, but that's a great way to commit fraud. And we have to shut those things down. Otherwise, we can't have good elections. We can't get the right people elected.
Well, like I said, I don't know if a vote went in from in my name, but I do know this too. Is, like I said, not only was I still registered to vote in the state of Nevada, even though I first originally registered as a Republican, they had me down as a Democrat.
Yep, you can bet that fraud was committed with your registration. So you need to visit that county clerk and watch that county clerk to delete your registration.
Oh, that's already done. I'm no longer registered, but I made sure to get rid of it before the 2024 election. So.
Okay, that's excellent. But you can bet it's happening with many of our other citizens.
Yes.
Yeah, you have, and the problem is, it takes volunteers like us to actually get things done many times. That the people we pay to do that job many times don't do the job, right? So it's unfortunate we have to spend our time, to try to correct the situation. But that's where we're at right now. If we get the executive order implemented, then we'll start to improve our election system.
So we got just around 5 minutes left. John's been awful quiet.
Well, I was listening to what you guys were saying here, and I have a friend that was working elections last year, and he's still involved, but he doesn't want to continue it. And the reason why is because he really doesn't make anything. He gets a stipend. But the problem is you're talking about having people that work elections and stuff, but he's doing it alone. There's all these other people that signed up to do it, but they keep calling out, don't show up for counts, don't show up for this. And at the end, you got to count all these votes, right? Or what is it? You got to fill out all this paperwork for names and address. What you were talking about, registering people, making sure their addresses and stuff. And he's finding that they're not there. Do you see that problem in West Virginia, that people that are supposed to be working these elections, that took the money to work these elections, aren't doing the job?
Well, so I mean, in my opinion, you should be happy to contribute your time for a day every 2 years, right? As citizens, we're literally in a 1776 moment right now, right? I mean, you guys know that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's up to the citizens to do this. So you should, no matter what you suspect, you should always vote, because it makes it harder for bad actors to commit fraud. You should always serve in your local community as a poll worker. Everybody on our group serves as poll workers. You need to be active in a civic way, and it's not too much to ask an individual citizen to spend a day to be a poll worker and keep, have more eyes on the prize of the elections. So we all need to stop being lazy. We all need to participate in these elections, because they're literally life and death for our kids and grandkids.
Exactly. That's what I'm thinking too. Is I don't think I'm going to join the committee who helps take care of the election, but I'm thinking probably school district or something like that, because you just mentioned our children are the ones that are really at stake, and that's what my main concern is. So I want to get on the school board, and I want to take pornography and critical race theory and all that crap out of our classrooms. That's kind of what I've been focusing on.
Every one of us has to have courage and has to be involved in our civic system. It's essential. It's the only way things will get better. And so you do it for your kids and grandkids, if nobody else, if not for yourself. And the money that you make as poll watcher, it's not that much, not the big thing. No. And if you look back at our founders, nobody paid them, right? We had legislators in the First Continental and Second Continental Congress who volunteered their time. They were shopkeepers and carpenters, and they volunteered their time to get this nation off the ground. So we need to get involved in these civic duties, like the precinct strategy, for example. You probably heard of that with Steve Stern and his buddies there. We have to get involved. You don't have to be a party chairman, but you have to get involved in major things, because giving your voice to something is how things get better, right? And it deters bad actions as well.
Here's the thing: is if good people aren't willing to get involved, you can be guaranteed those that are corrupt are already getting involved.
Yeah,
so you need to be there.
They make money off of it, and they love control. So
yes,
and that's why they do it. So. I mean, we're very fortunate right now to have the right leadership in place, and now we need to take full advantage of it and fix all the issues with the country. Because if we don't, then we get what we get what we deserve.
Yeah. All right. Well, we are out of showtime. Ed, real quick, we see the website in the ticker there, but for those that may be listening on audio or, of course, blind or visually impaired, somebody wants to help and donate, where do they go?
Well, we don't really take donations. Okay, we are at Citizens, the number 4 WV electionintegrity.org. So we do that, and so if you're in West Virginia, any member of your audience, if you'd like to get involved in our group, please do so. Just submit your name, and we'll give you a call within a day or two. One last thing, if you guys are not aware of it, are you familiar with the case of Tina Peters?
Yes. And okay. I know that Trump has pretty much demanded her release.
Yeah, so we all made videos to support Tina Peters. We all called Governor Jared Polis, the governor. That was a travesty of justice that she's in jail for 9 years. All she did was she did her job as a county clerk in Mesa County, Colorado, and she exposed election corruption. And that's what she did. And the bad actors she exposed, they took her to court and arrested her and charged her and put her in jail. We all need to work very hard for her release.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. But on tap for next week. Oh, we got a good one. Our good friend Jericho Green will be joining the show next week. If you remember him, John?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yes. So we'll be talking to him next week. Ed, thank you so much for your time. God bless you, and please keep up the good work.
God bless you too, gentlemen, and God bless the United States of America.
Exactly. As I always say at the end of every show, God save the Republic of the United States of America.
Awesome. Good night, gentlemen.
Events of recent history indicate that Americans are setting a course for the end of their own great nation. The ever-growing trend in this country is to judge people not by their individual character, but by their identity as a member of a specific group. No one has ever succeeded or failed in life as a result of their group affiliation. A person's success or failure is also not based on luck, but on the sum total of the decisions that they have made. Those who succeed do so through good work ethic and the wise use of their power to choose. The opposite is true of those who fail. The ideals of individual accountability and responsibility in the United States are dying every day. A gun cannot be responsible for a death, just as a shovel cannot be responsible for digging a ditch. Both are only tools and have no will of their own. Responsibility is an adjunct of conscious choice and is the price we pay for freedom. Freedom is also a tool. It's an essential tool that is needed by human beings if they are to prosper rather than to merely survive. Yet there are those who would rather trade their freedom for security. Some believe that it is the responsibility of government to provide freedom. In truth, we form government to ensure and protect the freedom that is already inherently ours.